Hello and welcome to South First. I'm Anusha Ravisood and you're watching State of Play, where we dwell into politics, policy, and human interest. The Narendra Modi-led union government is all set to rename and rebrand with a lot of changes an extremely popular rural employment guarantee scheme, the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, otherwise more popularly known as MGNREGA, brought in by then Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh and his UPA regime. This employment guarantee scheme, the MGNREGA, was deemed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his very first term in office as a monument of the UPA's failure. But the same MGNREGA became a lifeline for people in rural India, especially during the pandemic years when lockdown forced a lot of people to lose their jobs, forced people to go back home from different cities, different places of their work. MGNREGA became a lifeline that pretty much made all the difference between food, starvation, life, and death for rural masses in India. Today, the Narendra Modi government is all set to rebrand, rename this scheme. In essence, the government is repealing the original MGNREGA Act and coming up with its own rural employment scheme. However, the new scheme removes the entire purpose, the identity of the scheme, which is job guarantee. Union Minister for Agriculture and Farmer Welfare Shivrajsinghchouhan is expected to explain to the parliament, explain to the house, the upper house and the lower house, what this new bill is going to be about. It has been named the Viksit Bharat Guarantee for Rozgar and Ajivika Mission Gramin Bill 2025, the short form, and literally in Hindi. If you see the bill copy, literally in Hindi, the name of this bill is VBG Ramji Bill. That's how the government wants to brand this bill. Naturally, the opposition is asking questions as to why Mahatma Gandhi's name has been entirely removed from a flagship scheme that has gone on to become a lifeline for crores of Indians over the years. But name in itself is not the only problem here. I, for one, have been flagging for years now how the Narendra Modi government has been increasingly coming up with Hindi names for legislations, for bills, which is a violation indeed, because laws that are made for the country, that apply to people of the country, that need to be implemented and followed through in states that do not speak Hindi, simply cannot be in Hindi. There are a lot of court orders, there is constitutional clarity on why names of legislations have to be in English. However, this isn't the first time that Hindi names, in excruciatingly painful to pronounce Hindi names, have been given to legislations very quietly passed off, very quietly imposing the language on non-Hindi speaking states. Be that as it may, that is a debate for an entirely different day. Coming back to the core concerns that have been raised about the draft bill. So pieces of the draft of this bill is in public domain. We at Southwest have also done an explainer on the highlights of this bill. First things first, this new bill that is expected to replace the MGNREGA bill has increased number of guaranteed days of work to 125. Under the NREGA, it was 100 days guaranteed work per year and then increase in person days as and when there is a requirement. If I go to the Gram Panchayat and say, I do not have a job, I do not have work, and under MGNREGA, please give me work, then the Gram Panchayat is compelled to raise request for a person day. And accordingly, my work will be paid. Now, that is how this entire system works in a very simplified manner. So, in short, the MGNREGA was a job guarantee for everybody who wanted to work, who sought work, who demanded work. Now, this new bill, although guarantees more number of days, 125 days of guaranteed work, and says that if a person doesn't get work, who is seeking work doesn't get work within a set period, will be paid an unemployment allowance, also goes on to raise concerns with the fact that one of the lines in the draft says each state will be given an allocation set on yardsticks, objective yardsticks that have been put together by the union government. In short, the bill aims to give every state a limit of number of days that it can give work under this new scheme. What happens if there is more demand is a big question, because we have seen over the years, especially states like Karnataka, like Tamil Nadu, like Kerala, like Andhra Pradesh, Manrega works have been taken up for a whole lot of things. Let's not talk right now. It is a matter of fact that during the pandemic years there was an increase in person day demands. That means more and more people wanted to take up Manrega work because they had nothing else to do. That, one can argue, is was a very different situation. Maybe it will never happen again. Given that employment rates are a huge concern in the country, one cannot simply wish away the demand for unskilled labor, the demand for work for those who want to take up work in the unskilled labor sector. Other than allocating number of days, allocating person days for each state, we do not know on what yardsticks it is going to be given yet, because that is open for discussion. That is not in the drafts that I've seen so far. It must be detailed far better in the parliament. Another concern is, however, the cost sharing between center and state. The union government is pushing this as a centrally sponsored scheme, as is the case is most centrally sponsored schemes. This is the case with most centrally sponsored schemes. They are simply not completely centrally sponsored. Most centrally sponsored schemes are funded by the state to a big extent. In this scenario, this new bill seeks to make the state and the center partners in expenditure. How? 60-40 share between center and state. That is 60% of the cost will be borne by the center, 40% by the state. This is for all states except northeastern region and Himalayan states and union territories, is what the government says. Now one may ask the question, why not? If it is the employment being generated for people living in states, then why shouldn't the state pay? That's a very valid question. The structure of Manrega and the structure of this new bill is something that you need to look at. Now, under Manrega, what happens to the funding? Where does the money come from? The union government bears the full cost of wages for unskilled manual work, up to three-fourths of material costs and three-fourths of wages for skilled and semi-skilled workers. So one-fourth of wages for skilled and semi-skilled workers and one-fourth of costs for material costs are all taken care of by the state. So that is how it was under the Manrega, which was entirely a central government scheme brought in by the UPA government previously. In this new scheme, the central government wants the states to take up 40% of the costs. Several people have raised concerns about how this is simply siphoning off the burden of cost to the states, while the center can claim credit for a scheme that is pretty much funded by the state as well. Rajya Sabha MP from Kerala, John Brittas, who's also a media professional, who's now an MP in the Rajya Sabha, has flagged this concern about the new G Ramji, VBG Ramji scheme that is going to replace Manrega. And in a post on his X account, he speaks about how with this new bill, states will have to shell out around 50,000 plus crores yearly to keep the scheme running, given the kind of demand that you've seen over the years. Let's remember that year on year, despite states filing for more person days, the union government has not sanctioned sufficient funds to Manrega. If anything, looking at the trend of how much person days demands are there per state, budget on budget, there should have been more allocation to states that are looking for more work under Manrega, but that has not happened in our union budget. Year on year, money has been a huge problem. Allocation has been a huge concern for Manrega. Another concern that is being raised by a lot of people is how Manrega, the very idea of Manrega was to ensure that a person who wants to work but is not able to find work is able to do some work and earn some wages through the government and the work that the government is creating for that person. For example, under Manrega, somebody can take up something like building an agricultural pond. In Karnataka, we have seen Manrega being used to set up governmental or to help not rebuild exactly, but renovate and do up government assets like libraries, like schools. We've seen Manrega being used for co-agriculture, agriculture allied activities, you may say. Like I said, Krushi Honda is one in Karnataka where you build agricultural ponds. There have also been instances of restoration of traditional water bodies which help in traditional irrigation facilities, help in reviving traditional irrigation practices. All of these have been instances of work being created for people who want to work and earn wages are not able to find work elsewhere. There is a criticism of Narega as well, that because the government is giving you a job guarantee, a lot of agricultural laborers, instead of working in the fields, especially in peak agriculture season, are moving away to work under Narega. Naturally, that is a concern that needs to be addressed at several levels. There have also been instances of people in the Gram Panchayat, people in the chain of things who hold on to these laborers, their Manrega cards, their job cards, etc., indulging in manipulating the system to make money out of it. Every system has a flaw, and those flaws need to be addressed. No concerns, no doubts in that. All concerns, no doubts in that. But here is a scenario where the new bill, in its attempt to address this concern of ensuring that agriculture doesn't suffer during peak season, has suggested a window of no work under this scheme, under this job guarantee scheme. No work will be allocated within a window of peak agriculture season, and the states can decide on what the agriculture season is, where work under this scheme will not be available. Which means people who are hoping to earn wages under Manrega, who have been earning wages under Manrega, have to go work in the fields, have to go work in agriculture and farming or harvesting and allied services, and earn a living there instead. Like I said, the biggest difference between Manrega and this new GBG Ramji, I'm so sorry, this name is so confusing, VBG Ramji bill that the union government has brought. Let's make it simpler. The VB Gram bill. Now, this bill and Narega, the fundamental difference between the two is perhaps the guarantee of work. Narega worked on a demand basis. If there was a job demand, then more work was created, and hence work was given to people wanting work. In this new bill, states are likely to be given a quota of work and a quota of funds. Now, what happens if there is more demand for work, and if there, because there is more demand for work, there is more need for funds? The big criticism of making it a 60-40 fund sharing between the center and state, while the center continues to deem it as its own, claim it as its own scheme, is how this comes at a time when the center is increasingly cutting down on the state's means of resources. Under the GST regime already, there is a lot of loss that states have been facing, and for a long time now, states have been contesting their share, the share that they require or the share that they fairly deserve from devolution, especially states like Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, states that contribute hugely to India's GDP but get very less in return. In a recent interview that I had with a very senior IAS officer, former IAS officer of Karnataka, who has held the position of high positions of Additional Chief Secretary Finance, Additional Chief Secretary to the Chief Minister, L.K. Atik, spoke about how, as a finance man, as somebody who had headed the finance department, he's spoken about how the devolution and the share that each of these states get from devolution is extremely skewed. There are states that contribute very, very little but get a lot in return, like Uttar Pradesh. However, then there are states like Karnataka. For every 100 rupees that Karnataka gives to the union government, it gets only about 12 to 15 rupees back. There is no discussion about whether states that perform poorer than well performing states need more help. They definitely do need more help, and that is how there needs to be kind of redistribution of resources. But to what level is the big question. Now, this move to make states carry on the burden of a huge scheme like Manrega, and now what the union government wants to call VB Gramji, the states are already reeling under a lot of financial stress. This also comes at a time when the union government has been continuously shoring up finances under the name of cess and surcharge without sharing it with the states. Now, what happens is all the money collected under GST taxes, of course, go to the common pool, divisible pool of taxes, and from this pool of taxes, the finance commission decides on what state gets how much and on what yardstick. But there is a different collection of money that takes place under the name of cess and surcharge that goes directly to the union government, and the union government does not share this with any of the states. If anything, very recently the union government also moved to increase a cess or add a cess on what is luxury sin goods, for example, like excise. Excise, however, is a state revenue stream. That is why Chief Minister of Karnataka, Sidramaya, has written to the Prime Minister insisting that in this new privilege cess that the union government is coming up with to levy more taxes on sin goods, the state also should get a share because excise is primarily a state revenue stream. This new bill that is going to place a lot of financial burden on states at a time when the union government is already cutting down on funds to the states and then hoarding up money without sharing it with the states in the names of cess and surcharge is simply going to make matters worse. At the end of it, it is not only going to be a dent to federalism but also going to impact the poor, the vulnerable, because at the end of it, when the allocation runs out, when the money runs out, there is very little the states can do. Who is the ultimate loser? The person sitting in a remote village of India who's dependent on the government's NREGA scheme to ensure that he or she or they earns a decent living for a set number of days in a year. Ultimately, that vulnerable poor person should not be left in the lurch. Until I come back to you with yet another episode of State of Play, do stay tuned to South First. Thank you so much for watching.